So I'm going to be going over the organization of the 8th grade English Language Arts course. There's the course at a glance, and I'm going to go over the exemplar unit. First thing that you'll notice is on the outside of each of the units, there is a spot for suggested text or resources. And this is all laid out so that you can see what resources are used, the main resources that are used for each unit. So I'm going to take a look at the unit for our story and its impact. And this centers around memoirs. So you're going to see excerpts from specific memoirs that I typically use. There also are literature circles within this unit. As students are writing their own memoirs, they're also reading a memoir. So there are a lot of different memoir options. Please make sure that you read through these. Some of these I feel may be a little bit more difficult for certain classes or certain students. I do not use all of these every single year, but these are the ones that I have used in the past. So find the ones that work for you and your class. So if we go into these, you are going to see the unit overview, which gives a nice explanation of the goals, the essential questions, enduring understandings, those texts and resources once again, and then an overview of the performance task. The folder for literature circle groups has a lot of stuff in here. So first of all, at the top of each lesson or each page, there will be the lesson instructions for the teacher. So for you to get a feel for kind of how you can set this up, you can take a look through all of the things for that particular lesson. Teaching materials will be for the teacher. So there's a Google form for literature circle choices. I give students choices of those books. I give them an overview of each of the books, and then they will rank those books in the Google form so that I'm able to see what they would like to read. Once students get into groups, this is their literature circle assignment calendar, and you'll change dates and everything to fit you, but they will, within their groups, the first meeting, they will set up their reading schedule. So they will say how many pages they need to read, and the general instructions are down here that they have to take the full amount of time to read their book. They can't finish it out in week 3, things like that. All assignments should be relatively even in terms of page numbers, but I do ask that they end on a page break or on at a chapter if that's what their book has. And then there's also role sheets if you are assigning each student a different role within their literature circle group each week. Gives them a focus, has something that they are going to come to the next literature circle meeting with, so that they can have these conversations around their particular role. So each week, students will have their reading to do, and they'll also have a virtual discussion post. So you will see that they are labeled so that you have a feel for what the focus will be that week. If you open them up, the post will be here. They might also see kind of an overview or something to kind of help them remember what these are. So this is just a video that they're going to watch before they're able to make their connections, and then assignment length is there as well. There's also the rubric for the responses for each week, and there is a final essay for their literature circle book that they will complete once they have finished their entire book. When you go back, you will see Memoir Choices for Revision is a folder where there are student memoirs that, there are elements of these that might be strong, but there are many elements that they can improve upon. So if there is something that, you're using this lesson and you don't have time for students to do the entire thing and write their own memoir, this is a nice option, because as they're going, they are going to take, and the instructions are here, but they're going to find one of these memoirs that they are going to copy the memoir. They're going to paste it on this personal document. And then as they go through the lessons, they are going to come back to this document and continue to revise this memoir with those elements that they've learned. This is nice because, first of all, for time, if you don't have that time for them to work on their own, but it's also nice for you to see, are they understanding it along the way? Will they be able to apply this to their own memoir? It's an option for students maybe who are not really comfortable diving into something very personal. It allows for students to have a little bit more, they don't feel, it's not as risky. As you go down, there's their personal memoir document, and this is simply where they are going to start typing their own memoir. And within these lessons, it will tell them when they will open this up and what they will start typing. So in lesson 1, you're going to see the different kind of how things are going to flow. So there's a hook here that you'll do that the entire class can do together. And this one I think is very important to actually do as the entire class. It helps get students more comfortable telling things about themselves. It gives them a feel for what other people are talking about. And as a teacher, I would also jump in on this because I think it's really important that they see the kinds of things that you've gone through as well. As you go through each of these, you will see, again, the lesson instructions. Sometimes there are discussion boards. Sometimes there are notes. There are a lot of different elements as you go through here. So students will go through the lesson 1, and lesson 2 is when they begin to actually draft their memoirs. Lesson 4 is sharing your story. So there are some options here. The performance task really is their written memoir. So there are different things that they can do with this, and this is in the lesson instructions. But with their written memoir, you'll see the rubric. You will also see Teen Ink has a spot where teens can submit their memoirs, which is a nice kind of extension to this and them feeling like this goes outside the classroom. There is a spot for the 6-word memoir, which is a very popular thing if you don't know about it, but there is an explanation of the 6-word memoir assignment. There's a rubric for it as well. And then I created a tutorial here for how you can kind of put a video together. We do class movies for 6-word memoirs, and it's a nice keepsake for students. It's a really nice final product. There is also a self-portrait where basically what this does is give students a chance to use photography in showing something about themselves that they learned throughout their memoir. So just some different options there for sharing their story and kind of finalizing the unit. There are also grammar modules in this unit, and these modules are self-paced, and you as the teacher will set the specific date that you want students to be done with each module by. And the summative on this will really be within their final written memoir. So I put here that students should finish the grammar modules before peer reviews, because during peer reviews in the revision and polishing stage, they will be given feedback on the elements in these. And for this one, the only elements are clauses, conjunctions, and then varying their sentence types, simple, compound, and complex sentences within their final memoir rubric. The other lessons, and we will just go into one, again, suggested texts and resources, but once you go in, you will see your unit instructions for you. There, for this one, is a general unit progression, suggested way that you could flow through the unit, pre-reading materials, things that you can do ahead of time. There are different Common Lit articles where it will tell you what this link will bring you to, what this story is about, and then if you were reading, after students read Act 1, Scene 1 of Raisin in the Sun, how do we introduce this text and what do you have students do with this? What are the discussion points? Same kind of thing as you go through, that there is a performance task and summative assessment folder and some different options within this. This particular unit has a performance task option, a written summative assessment, as well as a 5-paragraph essay option here. I hope this helps. The units that are not the exemplar unit are each laid out slightly differently, but they do each have the unit instructions for you as the teacher.